The Tennessee State, you tune into the HBCU Sports Lab with Dr. Bill, Mike and Charles, and I'm
This is Dr. Bill inside the HBCU Sports Show. And that's the Sports Lab for all of y'all. You know you're in the house at the lab. Welcome to episode 83 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast. The show that is covering the sporting HBCU diaspora, all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small. From NAIA to the NCAA, we share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture and HBCU athletic aesthetic to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavill, along with my co-host, Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. We are filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to our Case-Wage 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, Ralph Cooper, in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University right here in Houston, Texas. With that, without further ado, I'd like to say today's episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THG Agency, LLC. TH Agency is a company that provides sporting and educational consulting and data analytics. With that, we have none other than Professor Charles Bishop and Professor Mike Washington, better known as Charles and Mike. Some may even call him Brother Bishop and Brother Washington. But without further ado, let me go straight to Charles. He got a smile on his face. He must know something that he ain't telling the people. What you know out there, Charles? You got some good HBCU news to share?
Man, we got some HBCU news cooking. I tell you that much. We'll start. You know, we can start with the HBCU news now, but the gumbo is really getting a little spicy there, Dr. Cavill. There's some stuff brewing. We'll see what happens.
Let's talk about a little bit this gumbo, Mike. You know, do you have some HBCU news in this? I guess you can add your flavor since it's just a pot of gumbo. I know one thing that you're going to put on there is some hot sauce. Now, some people say you don't add sauce to good gumbo, but I know my brother Mike Washington, and Mike Washington, Professor Washington, adds gumbo to everything.
Well,
I mean, adds hot sauce to everything,
well, yeah.
including the gumbo.
So, since part of my family is from the Golden Triangle of Texas, which basically is Louisiana, they're the most important ingredient of the gumbo is the roux. If you mess up the roux, you get the whole gumbo wrong. So I just want to make that clarification. And yes, you add hot sauce, but you want to add hot sauce that has a little cayenne in it. You don't want that store brand generic hot sauce. You want some Louisiana hot sauce with a little cayenne in it. Add a little base to it.
Oh wow!
Boy,
Now
I can't
that's
wait till we
nice
start
that you
tailgating.
you you do it in like that. I should have known Mike would add a little spices. I told you he gonna add a little hot sauce, and just as I thought. How about that? Going back to you, Charles. On a serious note, for all our folks out there,
Mm.
before I go back to you and ask you from HBCU Sports News of the Day, you know that we always have fun as we provide that serious information on HBCUs. Let me give some of those that jumped right online early in this episode, as we said, 83. Chuck Hunt checking in from Monroe, Louisiana, like he always does, keeping us up to date of what's going on in North Louisiana, all things, particularly those things connected with HBCUs up there, roundly known as the G, Grambling State University for everybody else. Jimmy L. Wilson, it's time for class. Yes, it's time to get into this lecture. Lawrence D. White, hello guys, let's get busy. Doug from Big D. We got Frank Nelson joining us. Reggie Howe, the CIAA is in the house. We'll catch up with
Mm.
Reggie as we can get us an update on what's going on in CIAA country. We'll make that happen in a couple of weeks. Ricky Burton, Daryl Terrell is in the house. And excuse me if I'm pronouncing those wrong, certainly want to know. John Grant, just wanted to say what's going on. He says the show's going to be hot tonight. That's the executive director of Celebration Bowl. Yes, we have a lot of dignitaries, as you would call it, the athletic administrators within our institutions, outside our institutions, partnering with ESPN. People that are making it happen, that are trying to push HBCUs on various platforms to the next level. So I certainly give them a shout out. Better have Wendy Jenkins Bishop, as she's representing for a lot of folks. We really want to say for the first responders, I know they tune in straight from
No doubt.
the unit up there. So we thank them for doing that and want to give all of them a shout out for all the diligence and hard work they're doing. Carolyn Jenkins, Summerlin, AD. That is AD of Brian in the AD Sports Rap Show right there on our very BCSN. Y'all need to check them out regular now. Don't forget those partners over there. If you think we bring it hot and heavy, they come from a whole different spice of life. Check them out. Lonnie Show. In fact, we're going to surprise you in a couple of weeks and see if we can do something out of the boxes. We always like to do it. None other than my man, Lonnie Shaw, North Carolina A&T. Those Aggies are in the house, as they always are, representing proud. We'll come back to some of y'all as y'all tune in. We appreciate the love you provide us and give us all. It makes it that much special to do the show. With that, Charles, back to you. What is some more HBCU news of the week?
Yeah, well, let's start off in New Orleans. Xavier University of Louisiana announced Tuesday that it will join the NAIA's Red River Athletic Conference as a full-time member effective July 1st, 2021. Xavier was unanimously approved in August by Red River Athletic Conference member institutions to become the league's 13th member. So this move will now end Xavier's 40-year affiliation with the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference, of which it was a charter member in 1981. So a statement from Xavier, or I should say from the Red River Athletic Conference Commissioner Tony Stigliano. We're excited to add Xavier of Louisiana to our conference. Xavier has a great history in the NAIA and has been a frequent opponent for our current members. Our conference will be strengthened by the quality of Xavier's athletic program, and the university is an excellent fit with the Red River Athletic Conference as an institution and geographically. So Xavier, they are moving over to the Red River Athletic Conference, Dr. Phil.
Red River.
Yeah, I was interested in that. Before I let Mike jump in here and give some news, or if he wants to comment, he certainly has an opportunity to do that. I just wanted to jump in here. When I first heard this news, kudos to HBCU Sports Ken Rashad for putting that out there, one of the first to jump on this news. At first, I must admit, I was a little bit surprised. And then when I did a second dive and talking with some of the administrators in regards to what was going on, when you think about it in a lot of ways, you can see why this move should not be as shocking and make some sense. I knew that one of the things and one of the reasons why was a question in terms of getting full-time leadership as a commissioner in the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference. I did not realize until this year that the former commissioner was not full-time, that he was doing that as a part-time gig, for lack of better words. He was not full-time, and we got that message from the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference that they were going full-time, and I thought that certainly would put them in a great position. But then you go back and you take a step back, and you may have forgot about the news that Xavier expanded their athletic sports offerings. They brought in baseball that a lot of us were excited about, softball, right? And there's only 2 or 3 teams that play baseball in the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference, which means you need a minimum of 6 members to get an automatic bid to the NAIA tournament. And several teams in the Red River Athletic Conference play baseball and softball, as there are more softball teams in the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference. But if you're looking at all your sports, and they have looked at additional competition, if you want to call it that. But the key thing, as you said there, in the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference, historically, that this was a conference that was a hybrid between what we refer to as historically black colleges and universities and historically white colleges and universities, which is what they're going to the Red River Athletic Conference. Although now the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference is a membership of all HBCUs, historically wasn't. So the history, as you would have it, is not as deep in regards to what you would see with the CIAA, SIAC, Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, better known as the MEAC, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, also better known as the SWAC. You have a different there. And then the final piece that I thought resonated with me that I thought was intriguing was the fact that they had larger alumni bases going west into Texas with this membership in the Red River Athletic Conference. Basically, most of the schools are in Texas or Louisiana. You have obviously Houston with St. Thomas, Austin with Houston Tillerson University, Dallas with Paul Quinn College, and then obviously the other HBCUs with Jarvis Christian, Texas College, and Wiley College in East Texas. So that gives you some framework where they still get to hold on to those rivalries playing HBCUs. Obviously, you'd imagine they still would play Dillard, but that is interesting to me in a lot of ways, and some of the things that jumped out at me when I first saw it. Like I said, I was shocked. And then when I took a deeper dive, I was like, maybe not. Any thoughts on that, Mike, or did you want to go to some of the next HBCU news of the day?
No, Doc, I think you caught it all. I think the key for me was they're able to maintain some of the matchups, and which is key in college sports. So I think I have nothing else to add to that. So
Throwing out the same thing with Southern University of New Orleans canceling their athletic program because of the financial concerns also is another part of adding all that in the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference. With that said, what other news, HBCU news of the day, do you have? Great report, Charles.
yep.
Oh, no doubt.
Well,
What you have, Mike?
uh, sister, twin volleyball standouts, decommit from Texas A&M to play at Howard. This comes courtesy of, I got to give Ken Rashad at HBCU Sports credit. I got to give the Howard tweeting, I don't know if you call them tweeting team or whatever, the the Howard social media team. But congratulations to Bria and Simone Woodard, who decommitted from Texas A&M to play at Howard University. And in our Twitter post, I am super excited to announce that I will be attending and playing volleyball at Howard University. I can't wait to be a Bison. Hashtag HU25. And man, I'm like, that means y'all are old because my son is like, he's like class of 24. But that was care of Bria Woodard. So So I'm. She also said, I'm very excited. I can't wait to be a Bison. But just another move of HBCU athletes in the scheme of the current environment that we're in, with the social movement that we have taking place, deciding to decommit and commit to an HBCU. Although Howard seems to be benefiting from a large majority of these moves. I mean, if you look at it, if this was a corporate stock, Howard Star would be big. I mean, their stars are
Mm.
getting huge, but but it is a win for HBCUs, and congratulations to the Woodard sisters on their decommitment and their recommitment to Howard University.
No doubt. Hmm.
Great point made there. And yes, Howard seems just continue to move. Man, they take down the quote unquote mighty SEC to get the land twins. And you get essentially 2 for 1 with that height on
Hmm.
the volleyball court. You got to love that. And you know anything about volleyball in the Texas area, much like the rest of the country, it's a big time here with the AAU circuit in terms of volleyball. So historically, they should be major talent. And the fact that SEC was after them, you know they have some serious skills. So great news for Howard University and the MEAC with that in terms of that. Let me go back and give some shout outs for some other folks that have joined us and jumped
Doc,
on here. We
Doc,
got Leroy
Dr.
Gillis.
Cavill.
What's up, Dr. Cavill from Syntech Sports Network? What's going on, Mike?
Yeah, I'm sorry. One thing I want to get at, I know you want to get the shout outs in, but the Gulf Coast, a large part of our listening audience is from the
Mm.
stretch of New Orleans all the way to Mobile, and they're about to endure Hurricane Sally, which is a very slow moving hurricane. So I just want to say that our thoughts, our hearts, our prayers are out to you
Definitely.
folks. Yeah, I know it's a category, 1 or 2, but there's a lot of rain, so they're talking monumental flood conditions. So please, our hearts and conditions, our love is with you folks, because I know a large part of this audience, which is part of the SWAC in the Gulf Coast region, is listening tonight. So please, our hearts and
No
prayers are
doubt.
with you.
Very much so.
Sorry
Certainly,
about
when
that.
you're
Sorry
just
about that,
talking
Dr.
about the
Bill.
Gulf Coast Athletic Conference and parts of the SIAC as well. So significant. I'm glad you broke in regards to giving that update. Well said, and echo that in every way. Leroy Gillis, what's up, Dr. Goodville from Syntex Sports Network? That's out of Waco for those that don't know Syntex outside of the Texas area, Central Texas, as we call it, Syntex Sports Network. He covers all things sports in the Central Texas, specifically looking at high schools as he's a Prairie View A&M University alumnus talking to us and wanting to see more high school players get in there and get it done. Jalen Riley,
Right
Anthony
there.
Weston representing those
Right
Bulldogs, Alabama
there.
A&M, talking about what's up, everybody, everyone. Diane Weber, Texas Southern University's finest. Good evening, people. Texas Southern Tigers in the house from Las Vegas this week. Oh, yeah, and I seen that picture you had out there on the track, man. I started to put that on my little
I know.
background.
I
Right.
Man,
know,
that
right?
was nice
Wow.
in
Shout out to
regards to
Diane.
you in that form, man. I tell you, and during that time, don't get it twisted. Texas Southern has always had a very proud program. The Flying Tiger, Flying T, as a lot of people talk about. But during this time was still a part when they were dominating, not just in terms of what many would refer to the SWAC, but dominating the countries. Top
Mm.
5, top 2, top 10 regularly. And at that period of time, they were ranked top in the nation. Jimmy Wilson said, "Do you cover Temple Wildcats and Killeen?" Talking to the Syntex, yes. He's gonna give you an update there. Thomas White Jr., Mogul Threads. Last week, I had on a Southern cap in honor of Lou Brock. That cap was given to me by Thomas White Jr. He has Mogul Threads. They do apparel, and I'm working him with some apparel lines. So the Professor line is coming. I know I talked about that a little bit, but we're really in the lab designing that stuff. And that's kudos to Thomas White Jr. But if you need to get some nice paraphernalia, particular Southern, he has a bigger connection with what he does there, but he does it for everybody and a lot of things. So if you want that, go check out Mogul Threads and get you some great gear. William E. Davis, brother Gregory L. Clark, and that's the general there, so want to do that properly there, Colonel General there,
No doubt.
as he is the president of the National Alumni Association of FAMU. Those mighty rattlers striking again. So just giving credit out to Brother Clark. Appreciate you there checking us out. Mary Owens in the house. Glenda Lattimore. Ralph Cooper is always behind the mix as he's in the studio. That's the Hall of Famer. You can't go wrong with a Hall of Famer on your team now. Brandon Larkin. Sarita Hall. So all credit goes to Ralph Cooper when we do well. When we don't do so well, just put that on us. We can't blame that from the
Right.
teacher.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's not a good look. So we give him the credit.
It's
Mayor James King, check that out. Aubrey Parker checking us out. George Walker, Jimmy Wilson is in the house as he connects with Syntex, and Jimmy is always trying to find a way to get a recruiting in. So he backdoor and trying to get some information about how you get some talent out of there in the Prairie View. Boy, you got to watch him, boy. There's some talented folks out there getting it done. With that, as we get ready for this interview, as we see that our interview is coming in, let me go to Charles before this interview when we get everybody. Any other news that you want to share?
Sure, and we did have some HBCU football this past weekend. Florida Memorial, they got back in the football business. They opened up the season against the number 9 team in the nation, Kaiser University. It was a 62-0 loss, but Florida Memorial, the football team, they for the first time in 62 years, South Florida's only historically black college and university has an active football team. So Florida Memorial, they're getting some games in this fall.
Yeah, I thought that was
Yep.
fascinating to see that. And there's the positive part, the fact that they able to get it done. Obviously, you got all the limelight if you can and do that. And credit is you're talking about starting football back. That's a feat in itself. But then you have the other part where you want to win, obviously, and they didn't do very well there, which is expected as you start a new program. But it's going to be interesting to see the balance because you get all the benefit for being the only individuals participating. But that means all the focus is on you and based on in terms of what you get done on the field. So that's going to be fascinating to keep an eye on and watch in regards to that.
And you know, Dr. Cavill, let me
With
get
that, let me
this
go
in
to
real.
sure.
Now, let me get this in real quick. And I think it almost slipped past us, but the Hall of Fame Classic 2021, Grambling versus
Yep.
Tennessee State. So I definitely
Versus
want to make
Tennessee
sure
State,
I got,
yes.
yeah, make sure I got that in terms of a matchup to look forward to start off the 2021 season. Hopefully, we get back to a little bit of normalcy once we get to 2021. So Grambling versus Tennessee State in the Hall of Fame Classic,
That should be interesting.
no doubt about it.
No
Did we
doubt
lose
about
Dr.
it. With
Cavill?
that, Mike, what else do you have going on, Mike?
I guess a graduate from Johnson C. Smith and Dr. Kristen Kelly. She has left the Ivy Leagues and is headed for the SEC. So this is more of an administrative role, but Kelly, who is Johnson C. Smith alumni, has been hired as the Deputy Athletic Director of Internal Affairs at Vanderbilt University. She was hired by Dr. Candace Story Lee, the first woman and African American Director of Athletics in SEC history. So, a bit of history working there, a bit of promoting women and high administrative levels. So, she says that I'm beyond excitement to have the opportunity to join the Commodore family in this role. I'm not only grasped how significant Dr. Lee's hire is to the school, the community, but more importantly, the responsibility that comes along with it. So she seems like a very well-grounded young lady. Kudos to her. She will forever, she says, I'll forever treasure her time that she spent at Dartmouth, which is an incredible institution. However, this was an opportunity she could not pass up. Kudos to her on her, and she never leaves out her experience as a graduate of Johnson C. Smith. With a bachelor's degree in physical education, sports management, and communication arts. So definitely, congratulations to this young lady, Dr. Kristen Kelly.
Great information, great update, as you said. No doubt. Congratulations on that. I did want to sneak in here with this HBCU game day. And I know you all may have gotten to this, but I was impressed by this when you talk about the HBCU universe in terms of HBCU game day when they generated
Yep.
thousands of dollars between North Carolina Central and Winston-Salem State from the DJ battle. I think they make a statement in terms of, borrowing from that verses, if you would, and getting that done. And HBCU game day, Stephen Gaither, Tolly, Wally Pip were all behind that. As you know, they are alumni of Winston-Salem State University and always following HBCUs, but finding a way to give back to your institution, including North Carolina Central out of North Carolina, that has to be proudful of them. So I wanted to give them some credit in terms of being able to get that done in no ways. Obviously, check us out every Sunday with the No Huddle Aspire HBCU Game Day No Huddle as we bring in news weekly on Aspire Network. So check out this show. Another way to give a little love in terms of what's going on there. With that, as we try to hook up a little bit with our interview, we're just making sure that everything is aligned to bring Sharice Fox on. And Sharice Fox, just for those, as we know, prepared was U.S. Paralympics Track and Field Associate Director, Para Sport Operations. She is a graduate of Grambling State University and a Zeta Phi Beta sorority member. So hopefully we'll be able to get Miss Fox in. But with that, before we do that, Charles, you have some other additional news that you wanted to share before we get into this interview, hopefully.
Sports. Peyton Manning. He uses his charitable efforts to endow scholarships at black colleges. Peyton Manning will be endowing scholarships at Dillard, Fisk, Grambling State, Southern, Tennessee State, and Xavier. So that comes to us from HBCU Sports. Peyton Manning, one of the greatest quarterbacks of his time, has made an investment in historically black colleges and universities. So shout out to Peyton Manning in terms of doing that.
Perfect timing,
Mr.
Charles.
Dwight,
Certainly shout out there. What'd you say, Mike?
Mr. Dwight Moore has. I know you've been looking at the feed. Mr. Dwight Moore has shot out, and I feel like I have to defend my honor here. He said, looking at your flags or towels on the wall, what is PV taking over? Well, let me tell you something, Mr. Moore. PV, if you really want to get it started, I'm sorry, I'm taking off my analyst hat and I'm putting on my fan hat, and I'm telling you, PV will be the best in the West. I'm telling you that just go. That's right. You heard it
Wow.
here
Man,
on the doctor.
fine.
Yeah, on the
With
show.
that,
PV,
before we
PV
set
will.
this
Throwing
ablaze,
darts.
let me go ahead and get into this interview without further ado. You talking about whooping somebody the right way? We have none other than uh, Miss Fox, and that is Sharice Fox. As we said, Grambling State University, so she probably can bring some fire as well. Represent the SWAC, and she is a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. Full circle. U.S. Paralympics Track and Field Associate Director, Para Sports Operations. You know, everybody wants to know before we can even get into where you're from, and we will do the homework on that. How did you get into track and field as associate director, U.S. Paralympics? How did that happen?
Well, first of all, how are you guys doing? I appreciate you guys letting me here on the show and talking to me for a little bit. But it's been a long journey, that's for sure. You know, I've been in this role for just over 2 years now. I started off as an intern, and it was one of the requirements for me to graduate from Grambling State. And as a part of that, I had a professor, Dr. Hall, who basically, I don't want to say made me, but strongly encouraged me to apply with the U.S. Olympic Committee. And through that, that's how I got into Paralympics itself, working with wheelchair basketball. And it just kind of led from there. Everything just started falling in place for me. And ultimately, it led me to where I am, working within para track and field. But I do have a track and field background. Back from high school, middle school and high school, I competed in track and field, but mainly a soccer player, and just very, very fortunate and blessed to be where I'm at right now.
Certainly appreciate that. Follow up question before I do the handoff, and I'll go to Mike Washington with the second question. But to do the interview right, tell us a little bit about where you're from and how you got to Grambling.
Born and raised Cincinnati, Ohio. Um, Lived there up until I went to Grambling, basically. So I grew up a soccer player, and my father's actually from Alexandria, Louisiana. So that's how I knew about Grambling, knew where they were, knew that I shouldn't go to Southern from my time spent down there with my father. But
I
you know,
like
I got an opportunity to play college soccer at Grambling State, and you know, it's kind of based off of athletic scholarships. They gave me the best offer. You know, but who wouldn't want to be a part of Eddie Robinson's legacy and be at the school with the world famed marching band? So I ended up playing soccer there for 4 years.
great there. Let me go ahead and let Charles ask a follow up question, and then we'll look to go to a break, and then we'll get into a follow up question after the break with Mike Washington. Go ahead,
Well,
Charles.
I was curious. You were talking about getting involved with the Paralympics, and kind of describe, I guess, the culture, if you will, of working within the Paralympic framework.
Yeah, you know, so Paralympics is actually it's a part of the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee. We were actually just renamed last year to include Paralympics. Prior to that, it was just U.S. Olympic Committee. But now within the USOPC, I mean, most people are familiar with the Olympic movement. It's basically parallels the Olympics.
Hmm.
Our athletes, we're a very athlete centric organization. We focus on I believe there's 32 Paralympic sports right now. Within our actual Paralympics department with the USOPC, there's a small group of internal sports, one of those being para track and field, which is who I work with, of course. We have our para swimming team, para cycling team, and then we also have our winter sports. We have para Nordic ski, para snowboard, and para alpine skiing that functions within U.S. Paralympics as a whole.
Okay.
Certainly. This is Dr. Cavill with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. We're here with Miss Sharice Fox, U.S. Paralympics Track and Field Associate Director, Para Sport Operations, and Grambling graduate Sharice Fox. She is a member of the great sorority Zeta Phi Beta, as you would have it. With that, we're going to go to a quick break. This is Dr. Cavill Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. We'll be right back so Mike can follow up with the interview question.
YT Productions.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavill, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball.
This is Dr. Cavill with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop as we interview Sharice Fox. She is, again, the U.S. Paralympics Director and Field Associate Director. With that, Mike, going right back to you, please provide a question at this time.
All right, Miss Fox, who was told not to go to Southern. Before I get to my question, were you a fullback, center back, winger, midfielder? What was your position?
Yeah, so I was a goalkeeper. I was the goalkeeper for Grambling State between 2004 2008. We brought home 2 SWAC championships during that time.
What? Okay. All right. Much respect. All right. I just had to know that first. But let me get to my question before Dr. Cavill cuts my mic off. So
no, I like that question, Mike. You can do that anytime. That was pretty good.
So I know it takes a lot of attributes. I hear your passion. What drives your passion, and what characteristics are needed to really be successful in this field, and how much support do you think you feel you get for the Paralympics team and your efforts, and feel free to be completely transparent on the Dr. Cavill show.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the first question on just as far as like, where do I get my passion? I had no knowledge, as most people don't, of Paralympic sports up until I think I was maybe a senior in college, maybe a junior, where one of the organizations that I was a part of for my major, we ended up going down to Shreveport to assist one of their parks and rec departments, just kind of volunteer. And we really didn't know what we were getting ourselves into. I just knew that we were going for a community service project, and I'm all about that. So I went with a group of classmates, and we get down to Shreveport, and there was a wheelchair basketball team that was there. And they basically needed people to sit in wheelchairs and help them practice because they didn't have the numbers to do it at the time. And that's where I found out about Paralympics and kind of about the possibilities within that role. And I think that once someone goes into the Paralympic movement, once they get involved, it's hard not to develop a passion for it. It's hard not to look at an athlete and talk to an athlete who, whether they were born with their disability and had to overcome a life of struggle, learning how to feel accepted, learning how to use a wheelchair, to an athlete who was in a tragic car accident where they lost a leg or became disabled just from spinal cord injury, to an athlete who might have been the star quarterback on their team, received a Division I scholarship, to an SEC school, had aspirations of playing in the NFL, who all of a sudden developed cancer and lost a part of their leg or bones, and all the way to more recently, what we're hearing is our military veterans who are injured over in the war, fighting for our country. You know, it's hard not to be passionate about serving those athletes. Sorry,
No
Charles.
doubt about it. I really appreciate you sharing.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Go ahead,
Sharice,
Mike.
I did have I had a follow-up question, Dr. Bill, in terms of asking Sharice. Is there any, I guess, one story or one person who stands out in terms of working with the Paralympics, in terms of their story of overcoming whatever hardship that they have to be a successful athlete?
Oh man, that's a tough one because there are so many athletes out there who are who fit that criteria. Honestly, but I think I'm going to go with an athlete who's not even within para track and field, because I think my athletes will be upset with me if I pick one of them and not the other. But we actually have a cross country skier, our para Nordic ski team. His name is Dan Knassen. He was injured serving our country overseas. And Dan, in 2008 at the Pyeongchang Paralympic Games, came away with multiple medals. Had to overcome so much just to deal with becoming a bilateral amputee, learning how to walk again, learning how to move again, learning how to function in his new reality, to serving his country, and in one way in the military, to serving his country wearing a flag in another way, representing his country at the Paralympic Games. So he's definitely an athlete that stands out to me as just kind of being a Paralympian who has had to overcome so much and did it in a very short time.
Wow. Thanks.
Incredible.
I really wanted to talk a little bit about the current atmosphere in with COVID-19. And with that in mind, obviously, we're aware of how that's affecting sports, and certainly it's going to affect all types of sports in all types of ways, including what you're doing. Specifically, we know that 2020 games was postponed. What developments are on the horizon that could affect future career opportunities in terms of specifically the Paralympic Games? Or do you see it affecting it in any way?
Honestly, it's a little too early to say, what the long-term and even short-term 5-year effects are going to be. Right now, just as it relates to like USOPC, we did go through a very hard job cut, a few months ago, I think back in May, where over 100 individuals, unfortunately, were either laid off or furloughed during that time. So there was a lot of job loss there. We were very fortunate within U.S. Paralympics itself. We were given a voluntary opt-out, basically, that came with a small package to go along with it. And with that, there were actually 3 people within our Department of Paralympics who chose to voluntarily separate from the organization. And due to that, we were grateful that Paralympics didn't suffer any further loss after that. But I think looking at the future, due to the current COVID environment right now, sports itself will be affected. We're seeing it all across the board at the college level with seasons being postponed. Now I've got to wait until I think the State Fair Classic, and watch my Grambling State Tigers beat up on Prairie View A&M in February instead of seeing that this fall.
Wait. Shots fired.
Let's stop the interview.
I had to do it.
Let's stop the interview.
Hey, like I said earlier, I like you, but now I gotta know if I gotta take that back. That's good. That's good. When you slide it in there, truly part of the G it represents. Well done, well done,
No.
well done.
Absolutely. I always got to represent the
drop.
G.
She can't just drop that and just leave. No, she can't just drop that. No.
No, she already did. So I'm like amazed. I'm just like, that's twice already, and this is sure getting it done. Don't waste no time. With that, on the serious, we do have. I do have one final question I want to ask, and this is related to what you're talking about: the love that we have for our HBCUs, and the way that we represent them in many different facets. Professionally. And so, with that in mind, are you aware? Would you know how many HBCU graduates are working within the Olympic or Paralympic organizations? And if there are many that you are connected with, how do you create that second family within the organization? And then, as you answer that, please provide us any further additional information that you want to share that we may have not asked you in this interview.
Yeah, I wish I knew the answer to that question. I wish I knew more about HBCU alum working within the Olympic and Paralympic movement. I actually I listened to an interview you guys had, I think, a month ago with Dr. Crystal McGregor, and I found out that I think a part of that interview, she worked with sport operations with track and field. And so she would definitely be one that's had some of that experience with it. But we have a program. It's called the Flame Program, which is finding leaders among minorities everywhere. And within that program, we are fortunate to have several students from HBCUs that attend to just get experience within sport administration, sport management, and learn about the Olympic and Paralympic movement. But we haven't seen many of them kind of come back and end up working.
All right, looks like we froze up a little bit.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I got it. I just wanted to, as we get this opportunity, hopefully get a chance to close up on that interview as you're doing there. But this is a perfect time to get in to an announcement I wanted to share with everybody in regards to the 2019 MEAC Challenge re-air. Bethune-Cookman versus Jackson State. Charles, hold your head up. I know that didn't work out like you thought. But John Grant was just sharing with us that on Wednesday, September the 16th, obviously that is tomorrow, so tune in. If you can watch it live, in terms of being taped, at the time, which is at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on ESPNU, make sure you watch it. If you are moving around, turn it on. Make sure that we get those eyeballs and measure it. Obviously, when we talk about ESPNU, it's significant that we're getting this re-air. We've seen this done throughout the season by ESPN, and I like the way that they continue to represent HBCU, so we certainly want to celebrate that. For those MEAC fans, in terms of Bethune-Cookman, they get to continue and cheer on and beat down on the SWAC fans, and particularly as it is with Professor Bishop. We know in a lot of ways that that's not going to go well with him, but guess what? Starting July 1st, 2021, this matchup becomes a conference game, and it is in the Eastern Division that we just heard, announced last week by the SWAC, with Bethune-Cookman, Jackson State, FAMU, Mississippi Valley, and the Alabama schools of Alabama A&M and Alabama State to round it off in between Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida are in the Eastern Division of the SWAC. For those that have been asleep at the well, that means Alcorn State, yes, has moved over to the West. But now that becomes a conference matchup. Can't duck and dodge now. So it'll be interesting to see how that moves forward. But on seriousness, would love to see you jump in there in terms of the 2019 MEAC SWAC Challenge re-air Bethune-Cookman and Jackson State. MEAC SWAC Challenge, Bethune-Cookman, Jackson State, Wednesday, September 16th, 2020, at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on ESPNU. With that, as we close with Sharice Fox, I did want to give you the chance to your final words in regards to what are some final things, comments that you wanted to share with the viewers and listeners in terms of representing Grambling State University, Zeta Phi Beta, and or the U.S. Paralympics track and field as the associate director. You can pick any direction you want to go. Since you had to deal with that little beep there, we'll give you that space to decide.
Yeah, I apologize for that. I guess I got disconnected there, but I'm going to go off all three. Of course, I got to give a shout out to all my sorors that are listening. Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. All of my fellow Gramblinites. Hope everyone's doing well out there. But as far as my final follow up to just with U.S. Paralympics and my role, we're obviously always looking for athletes, athletes who have disabilities. Everybody. I'm assuming everybody that's listening to this podcast is very interested in sports, being in the sports world. So if you guys have any athletes that you coach, see any athletes who may have a disability or impairment, send them our way. We're always looking for athletes. There's a lot of athletes who have no idea that Paralympics is even open to them and an opportunity. But we have everything from athletes with intellectual impairments, spinal cord injuries, vision impairments, with 20 over 200 or worse as far as vision goes, athletes who have amputations, athletes who have limited range of movement, and things like that. And the worst case is we tell them no, that they're not eligible. But we're always looking for new talent to place into one of our Paralympic sports.
No doubt. I really thank you for your time and all the information. Great experience. Continue to do great things and continue to do work and continue to have that little edge that you have. I like that. That's going to take you places and take you well. You'll be welcome back to the show anytime, except for when you decide to talk about the State Classic and Grambling and Prairie View.
No, she won't.
Well, that will get you, as I do, Mike. That'll get the mic turned off on you real quick. But we're polite. We're nice people here. So we kid because we care. This is our interview with Cerise Fox, U.S. Paralympics Track and Field Associate Director. Thank you for your time, and it was great to visit with you.
Yes, thank you all. I appreciate it. I look forward to tuning into the show moving forward.
Thank you so much.
No doubt about it. Appreciate it. So as we close up on the first hour of the show, hopefully everybody enjoyed that interview there. And one more time, I'll give you this 2019 MEAC Flag Challenge re-air Bethune-Cookman Wildcats, Jackson State Tigers. Check it out. Wednesday, September 16th. That is 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, ESPNU. Make sure we give some shout out for folks. But with that, as we get into it, obviously, we have some great news of the day. You had an announcement of Grambling State University Doug Williams Center for Race and Politics. Director of the board was named. None other than Brandon A. Logan has been named Executive Director for the Doug Williams Center for Study of Race and Politics and Sports. They're really going a lot into this. They got some significant people on this board in many different ways. When you talk about the Vice President of Human Resources Global Customer Fulfillment with Amazon, Jay Ofori Agboka, Kristen Brennan, USA Today Sports columnist, Joe Burrow, NFL quarterback, Cincinnati Bengals, Mark Davis, owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. Now I got to be careful with it, not Los Angeles, not Oakland, but Las Vegas Raiders. How about that? You got Dr. Matthew Guidry, that's PhD, former Deputy Executive Director of the President Council of Physical Fitness and Sports, James Shaq Harris, as you would imagine, and a plethora of others, including Irvin Magic Johnson, Dr. Dennis Thomas, Dr. Charles McCullin is on here, both commissioners of MEAC and SWAC. Dr. Richard Labchak, I work with him in terms of the North American Society of Sports Sociologists. He is the founder and director of the Institute for Diversity and Ethics in Sports, ESPN columnist. So who's who? Shannon Sharp is involved on here. E. Newton Jackson, one of my mentors at the University of North Florida, PhD, HBCU graduate of Howard University, who's really brought in a lot of ways of getting PhDs to African Americans that are now teaching sport management across the country in different ways. So certainly wanted to shout him out. But I thought that was interesting mix in terms of what they were able to do. It'll be interesting to follow to see what lane they're able to move in with that. uh, in terms of the announcement there. What are your thoughts in terms of the center, Charles Bishop?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, in terms of the deep dive that they're going to take into race and politics, and for it to be housed there at Grambling, this is huge in terms of really the study of of race and politics and how it interacts with sports. So I'm really excited about this opportunity to really take a deep dive into something that we all talk about on a daily basis, from intellectual conversations to barbershop conversations. This is going to be a real key.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I certainly wanted to get your opinion on this, Mike. What are your thoughts in terms of a center, race and politics and sports? Grambling is leading the way, partnering with the NFL financially. Hopefully that will work out. Obviously, when you put some of the significant names, both from those that have played professional, you have academic researchers on here from the academic perspective, institutional, if you would. And then you have some dignitaries in terms of Hall of Famers, Shannon Sharp, and the framework of that. What are your thoughts in terms of the center and what it could be?
I got all kinds of thoughts going around through my head. You know, sports has always been kind of a microcosm of what is taking place in society, from a social standpoint, from a social standpoint to a political standpoint. So I see it. What one of the things that pleases me is that I see that a lot of thought and at least visible financial support on the front end is going into the center, because this is a complex issue. And you know, politics and sports, whether you like it, love it, don't like it, love it, you know, they go hand in hand. You know,
Mm,
if you look throughout
always
history,
have.
yeah, and,
Hmm.
we look to sports, and sports. A lot of athletes make political statements, and vice versa. So I like the support that's gone in. I like the effort that's gone in, and I hope that continues. That's my first concern. But I like the effort that I see up front. I like the leadership that's being established, and I hope that it continues, and I hope that it serves as an educational foundation for understanding not just politics, but race's role in politics, ethnicity's role in politics, and the United States. And I don't want to get too deep, because we can go get philosophical here as much as we want to, but I think it's important, and I like the support that I see up to this point, and I'll kind of end it right there.
Man, Mike, you can always go deep in here. I just, when you go too far in terms of time, I don't have a problem with you going deep. That's what you do with the data and all the
Yeah.
analysis you do. You always going deep. So that's not a problem. It's just when you just keep going and going and going is when I say, Mike, what you talking about? No, just kidding. I had to pull you and age you a little bit. I'm just a little payback from the days when we were on campus of Prairie View.
Talking
I
about
get
it still
nervous
playing.
sometimes. See that? Yeah, I see that board back there, man. Flashback just get me going every once in a while. Jimmy Wilson put in mid golf. I think he was talking about Xavier earlier. Yeah, yeah. You don't have to show everybody in the world.
All right,
R.B.
all right.
Parker. None of the DJs want anything to do with Mr. Collar Park, a.k.a. DJ Smurf. No doubt about it, DJ
Hey,
Smurf be bringing it. Dwight Moore said,
that's
much
from back
respect
in the
from Peyton.
day.
He's on the record. Herbert Bolden, Texas Southern University, bringing it in there. He say brainwashed her. Boy, I tell you, I love it. It's Grambling folks talking about our last interview. Miss Cerise Fox, that was pretty clever there. Oh, I see where they were getting on you, Dwight Moore, with Mr. Washington getting with you. He did bring up that the East Division, where JSU and others are happy to see the Braves cross over. Mr. Bishop, homeboy, you're letting Dr. Washington shoot that shot with no return fire. Woo, boy, they are hot heavy in the mixing here. I
The
love it.
retribution
Dwight
tour.
Moore started loaded. Yeah, they bringing it. Jalen Riley.
Yeah.
Jimmy says impressive in terms of our last interview. Let me get a couple of more out here. I'm gonna let you return the fire, Mike Washington. I know you're ready to go, but let me give a couple of people some love. Maple Morgan, Kevin Keith Brooks, Orlando Garcia, Rob Calloway, and you'll hear from him today. I know he's been missing in action, but he's taking care of the business. But he'll bring it hot and heavy, and he's coming back with the show. I know some of y'all been missing that Saturday morning mix, and the way he brings it. No further ado, sometimes you gotta re-energize the battery, and he's back in full effect. So just get on to that. We don't always got to give all the show people a listener. So when we get a chance, we try to find a chance every once in a while as we take a break from doing our vision of what's going on. So just going to give some people a shout out here. Amos Fawcett, Garland Malone, Belinda Johnson, checking it out. Willie Alex Hines, as always, just got in. Good evening, gentlemen, for HBCU Sports News. Yes, yes. Thanks for joining us and bringing it like you do. Take it away, Mike. I know you got something that you want to bring in there. Let them know how you really think and how you really feel.
Yeah, well, first of all, that little PV comment about whatever. I just want you to know, I really want you to know that PV is coming back with whole lot of starters, and I don't want to hear Mr. Moore. I don't want to hear any feedback when we go into this next football season and PV once again has the top ranked offense. I don't want to hear well, whatever. So we can talk that noise all we want to. We'll have a quarterback. We'll be straight. And yes, bring on the Braves. We don't have any problem with the Braves. We took them on in Mississippi, so don't worry about it. So
Maple Morgan says, Jimmy Wilson say it's getting hot. Yeah, that's what we do. We do it in the lab. We don't care. Let's go. Before I pass it back to Charles and let him get a little bit of this rapid fire, because I can see him literally itching at the bit to get in here, I did want to give a little more information in terms of that HBCU universe, the HBCU verses, if you would, in a lot of ways. As I said, almost 60,000. It was exactly $57,000 in donations were raised. As there is no football, Randall Calloway, owner of DJ 360, organized HBCU Universe virtual giving challenge between the two schools from 4 to 7 p.m. Saturday. The challenge is rather simple to see which school fans will donate the most money. Calloway, a Winston-Salem State University graduate, and Jay Featherson, a North Carolina Central graduate, alternated music sets over the course of 4 quarters. During a 3-hour period, the event raised $32,600 for Winston-Salem State and $24,500 for North Carolina Central. So Winston-Salem State shown who was the victor. Congratulations to both alumni for showing up for their schools. Which HBCU will be next in the HBCU universe? Certainly, that will be fascinating to see if that will catch on. I think that is interesting, something extremely positive to see take place. So I did want to give a little shout out and love to that Ricky Burton in returns what was going on in terms of the HBCU universe, if you would, universes, I should say. I thought that was fascinating. Before I let Charles get back in there, let me let Charles jump in here and then I'll come back with this other update. Charles, what are your thoughts in terms of just the HBCU sports culture? What is going on? What is on your mind right about now?
Well, I did want to offer condolences to my Alcorn State family in terms of the passing of former athletic director James Brooks. James Brooks was on the staff of a lot of great Alcorn teams that won SWAC from 1968 to 1984. He was on Coach Marino Cassim's staff, but he was also director of athletics at Alcorn. So I wanted to make sure I got that in for a long time listener, Mike Jones, who's a big time Alcorn guy. But Dr. James Brooks, he was director of athletics at Alcorn from 1989 to 1992. He's a SWAC Hall of Fame member. He's also he was a 3-sport star at Jackson State from 1956 to 1960. So definitely want to offer condolences to my Alcorn State family.
I really appreciate you doing that in regards to making that call as we get into it. As we start to close and get into the top of the hour, we'll be bringing in Rob Calloway shortly as we get him to get situated and get it online, and then we'll go off live of the KSOH 12:30 a.m. in terms of the top of the hour. With that, I did want to get in a little bit. I thought this was some positive news where you have some schools that are having some concern with fall enrollment. Edward Waters College announced highest institutional enrollment in over a decade. And this is coming out of HBCUBuzz.com. Edward Waters College fall 2020 enrollment has grown to 960 total students, which represents a nearly 4% overall enrollment increase from fall of 2019 and ties the highest headcount enrollment the college has seen in over 15 years. That is significant from the leadership there, particularly during this time of COVID-19. That is an enormous statement, and I'm proud to see what's going on at Edward College as they continue to make moves. They're doing a lot of positive stuff down there in Florida, so a lot of credit goes to Edward Waters College. Strengthened in parts by its newest hashtag themed student-supported initiative titled We Got You, which was primarily aimed at increasing student retention and promoting student persistence this fall. EWC was able to buttress its overall enrollment by providing a total of 400 students with nearly $2 million in additional financial support towards satisfying their fall 2020 and spring 21 semester charges, which included tuition and fees, room and board, and activity fees. Think about that. The college's innovative new partnership with Follett Higher Education Group, which provided every first-time in-college full-time new EWC student with their own new Chromebook laptop computer. A lot of kudos goes out to Edward Waters College, the president there, and all administrators doing a lot of great work. Again, this is brought to you by HBCUBuzz.com. Certainly wanted to give kudos there. As we start to close out on the top of the show, hold on, we'll have you back in shortly with that. But as we go to this break, thank you for listening to Inside HBCU Sports Lab. As we tied in with KCOH 1230 AM with the Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper, we will be right back as we take this commercial break. Hold on, and we'll be right back with you.
YT Production.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavill, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson. And you gon' learn today, how your team they play, how they play, boy, you gon' learn today, how your team they play, how they play, yeah. We represent that swag, that MEAG, and let me say, what's up to Tennessee, stay, and tune into the HBCU Sports Lab with Dr. Bill, Mike and Charles, and I'm
This is Dr. Cavill inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop and none other than Rob Calloway, the visiting associate professor. Calloway, we're in the house, in the lab, ready to give us some of this discourse and lecture, man. Yeah, we gonna treat you like the adjunct visiting professor, man. You just disappeared on us, brother, man. We've been working you that hard day in that lab.
Man, let me tell you. Can y'all hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we hear you fine.
Can y'all hear me? Okay. All right. So yeah, man. Look, I'm gonna just be very honest with y'all and everybody. And you know, the guy I was telling Dr. Cavill last night, like, first of all, this is the first time in years, I mean years, where I have not been obligated to do anything as far as having to travel to go cover football games, no any of that. So for real, like I just took a break. like this is the only opportunity that many of us are gonna have. If spring football happens, guess what we'll be doing? We're gonna be either watching or we're gonna be on the road covering the games or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, look, I'll just say this, and I was already gonna say this before Charles was talking about the guy that passed, but like for real, at this moment in time, there's nothing happening, and I refuse to turn the HBCU report into a 90-minute obituary. Like I just refuse to do it. Like look, so sometimes like when you able to call an audible, I mean for real, that's all that's been happening. A lot of folks been dying. I mean young folks too. You know, we had a kid at Alabama State that they found deceased yesterday. So it's been a lot of that kind of stuff going on, right? But yeah, you know, when you actually operate something for yourself, right? You can call an audible and nobody can say anything about it. And this is the first time since I've been doing the HBCU report that I could just call an audible and be like, you know what, whoop, time out, and nobody can say anything about it because, like I said, I mean, shoot, man, you know, y'all
because you are the boss. People don't understand that is your show, the HBCU report.
Yeah,
so
I'm
you
the
the boss. So when you want to call a timeout, what they gonna do? Yeah, what they gonna do?
Fire
But
me.
no,
Hey, I already
we're
been
happy to
fired
have
too
you
many
back.
times.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
With that,
HBCU
let me go
report
to
done bounced
Charles and let
around.
Charles ask you a question here in terms of what's next and your thoughts on some things.
Yeah, Rob. I mean, what you got your mind on, man? There's some stuff cooking out there. Or what are you gonna look at this upcoming HBCU report?
Man, you know what? I'm gonna just be very honest with you, bro. Like, it's so much going on, and it's not even really HBCU related, but you can always tie it back. You know, you can always find a tie back. I mean, like right now, you know, everybody talking about this 2 Chainz video again, like it's something new. Like we already knew about the song, you know, like, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying. So I mean, it's something new. But you know, a lot of folks talking about it, and you know, it's getting played at the stadiums and stuff like that. So you know, I'll be able to. Oh, and it's a little rivalry now because you know the folks at for some reason I don't know why, but the folks at Texas Southern and Tennessee State, I didn't know it. I didn't know until this week that it's like a little thing about the TSUs, like who is
Yep.
TSU, like Texas
Exactly.
Southern go by TSU, but if you see anything abbreviation when they talk about Texas Southern University, it always say TXSU, right? And then in Tennessee State always says TSU. So in the song, 2 Chainz says Texas Southern, and then he said,
Yes.
then he goes on down, and then he said TSU. He talking about Tennessee State. So it's always a little tie back. So you know, I'll probably just poke a little fun at that. And, you know,
Hey, Texas Southern will get into it with some folks.
Yeah,
I know.
but
I know.
Yeah, because they got into it with Norfolk State about who actually came up with Nick. So that was a real interesting debate. Yeah.
At the end of the day, didn't Cameo come up with it first? Like at the end of the day, like everybody, like that's what came up. That's what said it did Nick, right? Cameo. Yeah. So
Cameo did Nick, but it was who's the first band that started playing.
Man, it don't even matter, man. It don't even matter because Cameo did it first. The band didn't come up with it first. Like that's what I'm talking about. See. This is why I had called timeout because this is the stuff band folks talk about on social media. Like they don't have anything to talk about right now. You know, the Southern folks and band folks, they was all online talking about, oh, right now we should be waxing y'all by 50 points. I mean, this was both parts are saying to each other, and then they go to band folks. You know what I'm saying? Oh, right now, man, we be waxing y'all if this was the 5th quarter, yada yada yada. Like. Look, man, this is why I had to call time out. Look, I can't do it with y'all. Like, I refuse to sit here and be talking about, oh, man, you know, this week, what was supposed to happen this week. Like, man, so.
I hear you all the revisions, but I do want to ask you about the video that you're talking about. You know, he had the Alabama State shirt on. You have Chris Paul wearing the Alabama State sneakers. I mean, Alabama State. I mean, who are you calling favors in for to get all this representation to change? You know, I know y'all go back, and so
Oh
you be
yeah, we went
holding
Bama
out on
State at the
folks.
same time. Oh
I'm
yeah, yeah, yeah.
surprised
We were
you
there at the
wasn't
same
in the
time.
video. In
Oh
one of
no,
them
man!
videos.
No. Them days old for me, man. I'm somebody. Look, I'm somebody daddy. Like if you went back, if I told you about some video like in the late '90s, early 2000s, you'd be like, "Oh, for real?" Well, I'm somebody daddy now, man. Like, and I'm a teacher, so no, it won't be any of that. But here's the thing about Alabama State, man. You know, it is, and I look. You sweat, guys. I hate to even. Look. I'm gonna just be fair. The thing about Bama State is like folks that went to Bama State love Bama State. I mean, y'all love y'all institutions of higher learning. You know what I'm saying? You know, it just so happens like Bama State is just proud in the rich tradition. I got a T-shirt to say that. You know, I mean that's what it is. But the God honest truth is the leadership. You know, in order to have championship anything. And why Bama State not winning championships in football? Okay. Maybe not basketball, okay. But they win championships in every other sport. They the academic champions. They win champions in they the champions in everything else. Jennifer Lynn Williams got 10 championship rings and she only been there like 3.5 years. You know, so it's like they get it done. But in order to have a championship program, you got to have a championship administration. And so, you know, from the top, from our president down to the athletic department with Jennifer Lynn Williams and her staff and the phenomenal job that they do. And, you know, now we have a real ambassador in having a guy like Mo Williams as the head basketball coach. And so, you know, when Chris Paul actually had the Bama State gear on that night, he shouted out Mo Williams. So it's a thing now where Mo is an ambassador for the university, and he has all of these connections with the NBA. And so, you know, like the God honest truth is, 2 Chainz loved Bama State. Now he went to Tuskegee first, but he made the right
Yep.
decision second. You know, so the God honest truth is, you know, and
Man,
it's
you
crazy,
didn't
man.
started a versus online already. They talking about Tennessee State, Texas Southern
Versus
University.
Texas
They
Southern
going
on
back and
versus.
forth.
Oh, whatever, man. Whatever, man. Look, the Ocean of Soul
Let me
don't
let
want to do
Mike
the
ask you a
arithmetic,
follow-up
man.
question there. Go ahead, Mike.
I was letting Rob go ahead, man. First of all, I want to go back to this 2 Chainz thing. See, that's what I'm talking about. That East Coast bias. See right there. Whenever you talk to somebody who is east of the Mississippi, if you know anything, anytime you refer to TSU, west of the Mississippi is Texas Southern. First of all, point blank, TSU, TSU, and y'all,
See, I
everyone
grew up
else
with
east of the
TSU
Mississippi,
being Tennessee State.
Tennessee State. See, that's what I'm talking about. East Coast bias. Anyway, so I'm from a PVU chat line, and I don't want to hate, but I'm gonna go
Chat
ahead.
line.
How
What?
how is how 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 is it Fort Valley got? How is it that Fort Valley got mentioned in 2 Chainz song and Prairie View didn't? How did that Tuskegee and Fort Valley
Man,
and Prairie
look.
View didn't get? I'm sorry. How Tuskegee and Prairie View and Tuskegee and Fort Valley and Prairie View couldn't get mentioned in there? You came with Southern and
Look.
you actually said Texas Southern and you missed the best band in the. Thank you. The chat lines agree with me,
Now,
so thank you.
now look. No. Now I will go with that. Now west of the Mississippi, yeah, Prairie View, boy, they hell. I ain't gonna lie, they hell. I don't know, man. Maybe 2 Chainz was just trying to. He was just trying to squeeze him in.
Yeah.
Everybody not gonna get mentioned. Just like I give you case in point. That first drop I made for the Dean, right? And y'all names weren't
Yeah.
in it. What you say? Oh man, why my name ain't in it? And then what happened? I went back. So now all y'all need to do is send 2 Chainz, send Tahit some DMs on Instagram and tell him, man, you forgot Prairie View. You on the remix, you gotta say Prairie View. because they gonna do a remix, I'm so sure, and then Prairie View.
Yeah,
Then
they
if he
gonna do
get
a
Big Crit,
remix
see
for
if he
sure.
get Big Crit or somebody like that on the remix, then they'll make sure that they say it, but it got to be somebody from that area, because you're right. Wesley, yeah, you're right. Y'all don't get love. Like, for
Yeah.
real, man. Like, Jesus Christ. And y'all playing hella for y'all, boy. That West Sweat West.
No,
Hey,
in all, in all,
y'all go eliminate each other. Y'all go eliminate each other, man. Y'all
yeah,
ain't
it's
have
gonna be
fun
like
with
the
that.
SEC. I do have a question for you
So,
though, a
so
serious
Rob,
question.
as
No,
we get
I
back
got a,
into it, because
I
people know that you can do HBC sports too, and then Mike, I'll let you chime back in. We got a little time here. We gonna
okay.
hold over. He doesn't have the show on Tuesday, so we gonna get to hog a little more of his time. He with us. We got this now. So we hadn't heard your voice on this since the last time you've been on the air. We've had some little sports talk in regards to the SWAC as they continue to put it out there. Alcorn State has moved to the West, and you kind of teased us a little bit. What are your thoughts on that? Seriously, what are your thoughts in terms of what the East is now and what the West is now? How you weighing all that, man?
Yeah, Rob. What are your
Man,
thoughts?
you know what? This was this is really, it don't get any better than this. Like, let's just be very honest. Like, we talking about moving Alcorn to the West. Alcorn been SWAC champion, what, 5 years straight? Is it 5 years straight, right?
Yeah,
Like,
They've been there six.
I
Yep,
mean,
five. They
six.
did
yeah,
two straight. They've been there. Won the East six straight.
Yep.
6 straight. Yeah, so I mean, now that you bring
Charles, don't get
Fam and
mad. You,
Bethune in,
y'all lost
because no, no,
the game against them. That's why they represented. You keep smugging like we talking about
well,
Alcorn.
yeah,
Win some
yeah,
games.
that
We'll
part.
bring up Jackson
I'm
State.
But
listening. I'm
but look,
listening.
Hey, y'all,
so
coach coming. Maybe that's gonna change the fortune. Someday y'all gonna name a coach,
Dion,
right?
Deion Sanders,
That's the
Dion
current
gonna be
one.
our
Yeah.
coach. He gonna want to come out there with
We'll
the
get you on
Trojans.
that take next. We get Dion next. But go on and finish up on the East West, as you said it don't get no better.
but
Sorry about
but
that.
but yeah, actually it doesn't. I mean, because you move, you know, Alcorn to the West, which I mean is fair. I mean, that's a fair move. Like, you had these idiots from the MEAC talking about, oh yeah, put us in the West. Like, why? So then y'all can complain about having to travel all the way out there. Like, y'all so stupid. Like, shut up. But it was a better situation. Fam and Bethune, they already right here on the East Coast, right? So you move them into the East. And you're talking about, a Bethune-Cookman program that has won the MEAC or a share of the MEAC, over these 10 years at least 5 times. Especially when Brian Jenkins was there. They won hella times when Brian Jenkins was there. And not only that, but then you got FAMU that's on the resurgence, if you will. And so you bring those two teams and you put them in the SWAC East, and I'm not gonna say it's gonna be as competitive as the West, because I'd be a damn fool to say that, because the West is gonna be where it's at. Like, the 9 times out of 10, the winner of the West, they go win it. I mean, I just until somebody shows me
So,
differently,
so Rob,
You all
like
right,
I want to
Texas
get
Charles?
is not
you
gonna
on
You all
the
be
right,
record.
Missouri.
Charles?
I want to get you
You all
on the
right,
record.
Charles?
Last week we did this, and we're gonna do this quick, go around the circle, if you would, as we talk about in the lab. We're gonna mix it up, so we're gonna go around with this rap. And
Oh
so,
God.
before we do that, I want to ask you this and get this on the record. It sounds like you're saying the football, in your opinion, the West is gonna be tougher than the East. In terms of
Yeah,
men's basketball, East or West, what do you got on the record? Who's tougher, East or West men's basketball? If the divisions hold
basketball.
true enough.
Oh man. Oh
Yeah.
Jesus. Look now. I mean, see, here's the thing: is that now you talking about. I mean, all of these schools got good basketball. I mean, like, let's not. Football is a different story. Basketball, like, all these schools for the most part, when we talk about the upper echelon, we got good basketball, right? Good. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to go with the Eastern basketball. I mean, because
All right.
I like Bethune Cookman. Bethune Cookman basketball team. Like, man, they've been hellified in the MEAC, and of course, fam. They over time they've been good in the MEAC. But like I said, I like that Bama State team, boy. I like that. Woo! I wear my pom pom. Oh, matter of fact, oh, here go my crab shirt right here. Yeah. Early in the morning, before
Yeah.
I eat my breakfast. Oh yes. Oh yes. Y'all ain't
Yeah,
know
he
no more
found it.
messing
I
with
knew
me.
he
Y'all
was
ain't know
hanging
no
around.
more.
I wonder when you're gonna represent it.
Look,
Now,
when I
women's
was nobody.
basketball, East and West
When
Division.
I was
Women's
nobody.
basketball, East and West. East and
um,
West
I go with the
women's
West
basketball.
with the women. With the West, I go with the women.
All right. Last
Yeah, I go with the
one
West.
before we get in this rapid fire around the circle. Uh, Baseball, Eastern Division or Western Division? Which one you got? Baseball.
Man, I'm going with the West because Bama State, boy, Bama State tear it up in the East, and we got to. Those Florida teams, Bethune and Found, they play good baseball. So and Alabama A&M,
We
they
gonna
play good baseball.
I like that. We gonna keep this going, and we gonna keep a record to see what happens at least that first year. We got Charles on the record saying Western football, Western men's basketball, close. He said close though. He has women on the East Division basketball. He went with West on baseball. Mike went with West on everything except for women's basketball, and he even said that was close.
Let's
No,
talk about
baseball too.
volleyball though.
East.
That's where the
Baseball
champ
East.
said. Let's talk about
You
that
said
I said
East on
volleyball.
baseball
baseball.
East.
My apologies. Yeah, it's on tape
Yeah, I
now. We'll
said
go back and look. So watch out.
go back. I
Watch
said
out.
East
I
on
said I
baseball.
gave the edge to baseball in the East, and so now we have Raw. All right, round the circle in terms of what's going on here. My question to you in regards to what does that look like coming into 2021? Uh, what is your biggest matchup that you're looking forward to 2021, Rob? I'm gonna start with you. Biggest matchup, football.
The biggest matchup, and I look, I can't lie. Um, are we talking about spring? Is that what we talking about? The spring?
No,
Are we
I'm gonna
talking
talk.
about
We're
the
gonna skip
fall?
spring. We're gonna talk about the fall. Yeah, I want to know when since we own it with the expansion. Let's go with the fall.
Oh man. Can I just be very honest and not to shoot shade to anybody that's not in the sweat?
Yeah,
Every damn game. Can I say that? Every damn game.
yeah. You
Every
say
damn
it.
game.
You
Every
say
damn
it.
game gonna be. Look. I would have said the Magic City Classic out like any other time, but man, what Commissioner McClellan said a couple weeks ago when I was on with you, he was like, "Oh, just wait till you see the schedule." Just wait. And that's old poker face. That's what I call him, old poker face. He told me, oh, just wait till you see the schedule. Nobody's gonna believe this schedule. Oh, this gonna be the greatest schedule of all times. And so when he starts saying stuff like that, it's like, man, there you go. You playing with my emotions. Um, but it's gonna be very interesting, especially when we talk about like East West. That's what I want to see. Is more like that East. Like I want to see fam. I want to see fam and Grambling. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to see.
Yeah.
We go see fam in Jackson State, but I want to see. I want to see these historical matchups that we know that we have now that we brought. Really FAMU because Bethune's just a tag along. They don't really have anything historical other than game. But I mean, they don't. They don't.
Oh,
Other
that's
than
big.
Bam,
He
that's
throwing
all.
shots
Yeah, they
already.
don't.
I know y'all in the
You
same
know, but
division, but you ain't got to throw the shots
but I'm
like that.
saying,
Let
but
me
but
go to
but
Yeah.
I'm
Charles,
saying,
and I'm gonna come back to you around this circle
okay.
again. Let me go to Charles. I like the idea of what you said there, Rob. Most of us have looked at the division matchups, but you brought up the fact that going across the division, some of the key matchups that may come out of these East West or West East, depending on which division you're in, probably how you want to say it. And those matchups haven't been put on paper yet, so it'll be interesting. Charles, if I gave you a chance, I think you were saying the one that you were looking forward to previously, obviously, rightfully so, kicking off the season, Jackson State FAMU. But outside of
Yeah.
that, what is a big matchup personally that you're looking for coming up this season?
This upcoming season, I think anytime
I mean,
Alcorn and
2021.
2021, anytime Alcorn and Southern get together, They I mean, it has become one of the
Woo, that's
better
good.
grudge matches that we've seen, and just because they're meeting in the SWAC championship, and Southern for whatever reason can't get over that hump. So I'm looking forward to whenever Southern and Alcorn get together. For me, also, Prairie View is the flying ointment, if you will, in the West, because Eric Dooley's going to throw the ball around a little bit, and they finally, I think, have the defense that can compete with Grambling and Southern and Alcorn. They got 9 starters coming back on defense, so I think Prairie View is going to be somewhere in the mix. In terms of if they're not playing for the SWAC championship game, they're going to prevent somebody from going.
That's a good one. Go to you, Mike. I got to get your thoughts. Get in here. Tell me your big matchup and how you up and down. What are your thoughts on the SWAC East-West division? Getting into it a little more now. What are your thoughts?
I've always contended the matchup I can't wait to see is a renewal of the rivalry, the Southern versus FAMU game. Cross division
Mm,
opponents. Battle of the Bands. It's always a challenge. It's hyped up. Yes, there are other great bands in the SWAC, but this one is always hyped because you got the Marching 100 against what is Southern's band's name? I don't know. I forget it. Anyways,
The jukebox.
that's pretty good. That's pretty
the
good.
human
Brother Leon Gilmore jumped in here. He said, "Damn,
yeah.
y'all, Mike got something to say. Ha ha, I love it." So I had to get you in there because I was gonna get in trouble for our bi-weekly matchups we have with the Brotherhood that we do. So I had to make sure I mentioned Brother Leon Gilmore as he's getting in here and showing you some love. With that, yes or no? I'm gonna go with Rob Calloway, Deion Sanders, Jackson State University head coach. Yes or no?
No.
Mike Washington, Deion Sanders, Jackson State head coach. Yes or no?
Nope.
Charles Bishop, Deion
He won't
Sanders,
it.
Jackson State.
He
Yes or
won't
no?
it.
I think I could see it. I could see a yes.
He won't it.
He won it.
Do I
He
want it?
wants it.
Hey, Rob, I would tell anybody this. Who wouldn't want it? Who
Man,
wouldn't
you don't
want
want your coach out there trying to come out there with your drum majors and dancing with
So,
your drum
so
majors
since we get in
with your
there, let me
band.
let you tease on that a little bit, Charles, and then
it?
I'll let these other guys follow up, and then we'll shut it off at the top at 7:30. We'll close it up. But Charles,
Mm.
why do you say that? What makes sense, Don Sanders in Jackson State? Not to say that it will happen, but if it is to happen, what parts
Right.
of it do you that amaze you and makes you say, "Hey, this is something that we need to look at seriously"?
Well, I like my chances if a person like Dion is coming to come sit on couches. I think Jackson State's recruiting, the talent becomes you get a talent upgrade in terms of the guys that he'll be able to bring in. Hopefully, I think this is a little different situation than Tony Hughes. So if he was indeed the person, how could you say no to it? I think he's an instantly recognizable brand, and all the ancillary things that he brings from a marketing and branding standpoint. I think it would be a great thing. So, I think I'm like everybody else. I'm sitting on the edge of my seat, hoping, and we'll see what happens whenever it happens.
I'm gonna go to Mike Washington next. Why does Deion Sanders in Jackson State make sense,
Well,
or does it make sense
I
since
want
you
it.
said no?
No,
Why doesn't it
I
make
want it,
sense
but I
since
don't.
you said no?
I I don't think it'll make sense because number one, Jackson State came out and emphatically said this is not going to happen. Typically, if there's a chance, they'll give a general vanilla statement and say we're still in the search or whatever. They emphatically said no. Number two, does Dion have the pedigree? He's been coaching high school a little bit, not that much. We don't know if he has the pedigree to step into the SWAC culture. Yes, he brings the name, he can recruit, but does he have the pedigree to recruit and to coach? I'm sorry, to coach in the SWAC. So I don't know if he's ready for that. I don't know if it's a good match. It's a good name on paper, but I don't know if it's a good match in terms of X's and O's.
Certainly with Rob in about a minute. Give us your breakdown. You said no as well. Why doesn't it work? Deion Sanders and Jackson State, why doesn't it make sense? Why you can't see it?
Well, see, it's other aspects to coaching that he has to learn, other nuances, right? There's just not on the field. Like, yeah, Deion can go sit down on the couch and he can get anybody daddy be like, yeah, boy, you go to Jackson State, play with Deion. Yeah, you're going to play with Deion. Okay, but are you going to graduate? See, that's the whole thing right there. Like, that's the part that Deion actually has to learn is that, yeah, you can go out and get these players, but you don't want these players coming in here and then 1 year they flunking out, and then that becomes your your track record or your legacy. That's not what you want. So Deion actually needs to go to the college ranks, and it don't need to be HBCU. He needs to be somebody's assistant and actually learn that aspect of coaching, just like Mo Williams did. Mo just didn't end up at Bama State. He was at Cal State Fullerton before he got to Bama State. So it's one of those things where you got to actually learn the name. Yeah, the name is great. The name is great. And look, he tried it with the whole I'm going to graduate from Talladega. He tried it thinking that was going to make his resume look good. But, if his resume came across my desk, I'd still be like, nah, Deion. Nah, bruh. I think that at some point, if he really wants to coach, I think it will work out for him. But there are other aspects to just getting guys on the field, recruiting guys. There are other aspects that he's got to learn about and become very effective of in those areas. So
That's fair.
Great points made by all. I will say this, even though it's outside of the HBCU's field, and we can do that because we can. Steve Nash says you don't have to worry about that. You better get that money if you can sign your name. So with that, thank you all for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends or colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavill, the Dean of HBCU of College of HBCU Sports, with Rob Calloway, as he gave me that name. Mike Washington and Charles Bishop, as we come to the close, we hope you enjoyed the interview with Cerise Fox, providing her update on the Paralympics. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Cavill's Inside HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop every Tuesday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. We look forward to next week as we discuss the latest in the lab and we bring you up to date with Rob. Check out Rob Calloway as he's back on the air Saturday with the HBCU Report, doing it only the way that he does it. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavill, DrKenyattacavil, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Again, that's DrKenyattacavil. Follow us also on YouTube at Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. You can follow us on Twitter, Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1. Dream big. Continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Lecture
dismissed.
dismissed.